What is up, NFL fans? It's your boy Kevin Phillip Fox here with the Legit Football NFL podcast. And I'm not coming at you alone. We got a tightly packed show today, so we're just going to power through it. My man, Adrian Revito from Down Under. Adrian, how the hell are you, my brother? He's not here. It's just me today, guys.
Solo, I suppose. Solo.
What's up, brother?
I know. Today we said we're going to keep it tight, a little behind the curtain, but I have to play the. No, wrong one.
Oh,
all right.
Hey, there we go.
I'm fantastic. I'm so good, man. I mean, look, I was just saying pre-show to Ant. It's a bit of a miserable day here. It's early, but you know, it's sunny in my heart. It's always sunny in my heart.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what it's all about, bro. We're here, man. We're here to talk football. We are the constant. You know what I mean? We have legit football. Life is ever changing. You know, this, that, or the third. Bills, job, whatever. We're here to talk football, baby. It's Friday. It's 2:30 Pacific. Butt crack of dawn in Australia. So it's time to talk football. Those are the rules.
That's what we're about. Hell yeah.
No. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do we have a third on our show today?
I don't know if we do. Do we?
Do we have a third on our show today?
That sounds like a tease.
I think we do. Mr. Anthony Weiner, producer of the podcast. What's popping, Anthony?
How you guys doing?
How are you?
Jimmy's not gonna make it today, so I'm Jimmy today, but you can call me Anthony. I'm ready to talk football.
We got Blonde Jimmy Ray. For those of you that don't know, Anthony and I shared coffee this morning down by his apartment in sunny Burbank, California, and it was a great day. We made bets together. We exchanged pleasantries. You know, it was good. It was a good morning for the boys.
It wouldn't be time with Kevin without a couple bets. I feel like that's.
I think you know me so well, bro. We've never met in person, but you already have the key to my heart. We also have some legit headlines for you. Again, this is from our Legit Football Daily newsletter. If you're not subscribed already, go to legitfootball.com and subscribe. It's entirely free. You get 5 to 7 headlines a day, every weekday, and it's as you all know, it's better than the morning paper. It's better than the morning scroll on social media. This is the way to get your NFL news. First and foremost, we have Malik Neighbors, who has cleared the concussion protocol finally and is expected to play against the Eagles. Adrian, we're going to start with you. How big is this for the Giants?
Well, it's weird because they've had their wins without him, and despite him blowing rookie records out of the park, he's been on the team when they've been losing. But I mean, as far as if you can hear music in the background, as always, my son is trying to get in for his podcast appearance.
Love it. Have to.
You know what? I'll open the door later. I mean, look, Malik Neighbors, as far as stat lines go, if you look at what he's done up until this point, he's set records for receptions. He's been like the heartbeat of that offense now that they don't have Saquon there. They don't have him in that building for the second, but it's happening this week. So I think it's huge. And look, the good thing with concussion, once they clear the protocol, it's not like an injury where you kind of got to get a bit of rust off and he should be back to himself again. He did have an injury listed on the report, but the Giants have said that's kind of non-consequential. They don't expect that to be any issue. So I expect him to be back and kind of back to his old self. And I sure hope so because he's carrying me in a fantasy league.
I think that's the case for all of us who have Malik Neighbors. Anthony, does this elevate the Giants to, do you think they're going to beat Philadelphia this weekend?
Beat Philadelphia? No. Will it give them a better shot? Absolutely. I think that Neighbors has the potential that New York drafted him for. So him coming back is going to be really big for them. But I still am not a Daniel Jones believer. So I think somebody else needs to be throwing him the ball to really develop him as a rookie.
That's fair, and I think if I'll just say my piece on it, because, you know, I love Malik Neighbors, and ever since he's come into the league a couple months ago, I've just been enamored with his talent and the opportunity that the Giants are giving him. Like, it is just a beautiful thing. I think you maybe Doc Wandale a little bit.
Beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. You maybe Doc Wandale a little bit because he's been kind of taking over the role, but I mean, you know, he's still. I think the Giants offense is better than we all think it is. And I think, Anthony, you might be right about Daniel Jones being the thing that's keeping them from being even better. Like, they've had their moments. They really should have, for all intents and purposes, taken it to Cincinnati last week. That was like a game of who wants it less. And the Giants proved to have wanted it less than Cincinnati. And it appears we have Fabian on the pod. Oh, my goodness. Far and away the most handsome person.
He's
on the
actually
camera.
it's getting ridiculous now that he's on here every single week. He knows I'm missing, so he's like he wants to be a part of it.
It's
So
the
I
weekly segment.
apologize. I apologize for interrupting the analysis for my son to come back his week.
Have him show us touchdown, and then we'll
right.
get on with the next headline.
Touchdown. Do touchdown. Nice.
Close enough.
He usually does two hands, but
he's got something. He's got to eat that peanut butter off his hands or something.
something's got to be done, right?
right. Well, thank you, Fabian, for your weekly appearance. You're the GOAT. Next up, we have the Raiders have traded disgruntled wide receiver Davante Adams to the Jets for a conditional 3rd-round pick. For those of you who don't know, Adams is staying at Rodgers' house. That's pretty funny. The trade went through, and about 30 minutes later, the two of them, just following their first sleepover in a couple years, apparently, were on the Pat McAfee show together in the same room. We'll start with you on this one, Ant. What are your thoughts on the Davante Adams to the Jets trade? Does he salvage them?
I think for Davante, this is good. Ever since leaving Green Bay, he just hasn't been who he was in Green Bay. And now he is back with Aaron Rodgers, where he saw most of his success. And I think that reunion in New York is going to prove to be beneficial for both of them and the whole Jets offense.
Yeah, I can't disagree. Adrian, thoughts?
It's so weird to see them back together as a Packers fan, and obviously that kind of hits home. So I'm glad he's there. It was cool how he kind of just rocked up on the McAfee show, and then Rogers just rocked up on I think it was Adams. I think like it's, and I'll talk about it as well when we get to sort of the Jets game. I just don't like the way Aaron Rodgers runs the show to a ridiculous level there. I feel like it's detrimental to the team, and I feel like it's that exhaustion I had with Rodgers before he left the Packers. I feel like Jets are starting to feel it now, the Jets fans.
Yeah, and we kind of saw something very similar in Denver. I don't really think those organizations work. I think you can maybe point to one example in NFL history where a guy brought his carnival, for all intents and purposes, his circus, from one city to another, and it actually worked out, which I would say Tom Brady in Tampa would be the only time where this formula worked out, and that's the GOAT. So I don't know if we'll ever see it again. I don't think Rodgers is the guy. 2-4. I've said this on this podcast before. I didn't think they were a Davante Adams away from competing, especially given now that they're 2-4 and they're kind of behind the 8 ball. I believe they're 2.5 games back in the AFC East. Yeah, I think this is like the ultimate J. Cole. Don't save her, bro. She don't want to be saved. That is a sinking ship, in my opinion.
I agree with you on this, and I don't think they're at Davante Adams' way, and now they're going to send Mike Williams out of the building.
Feels like it.
Yeah,
it
seems like the writing's on the wall at this point. So I agree with you on this one. And I also think, look, they got a bump by taking Nathaniel Hackett off the play calling, but you fired your coach. There's turmoil in the building. People don't seem to like your quarterback. I don't know. You just don't normally see these things happening as a recipe for success. And Brady did it is not an argument for anything anywhere ever, because he
not
is
logically.
the anomaly. Yeah,
not logically.
No.
I mean, it's an argument, but you could shut it down and be like, one of one, go.
Correct.
Not really very likely to repeat that kind of success. And anything else on this before we wrap it up?
No, I think Adams and Rodgers have a couple good years left ahead of them. And if it doesn't change the offense this year, it definitely will next year. So just looking ahead a little bit.
Heart breaks a little bit for Garrett Wilson. I think he's got the alpha talent, and he won't be getting the alpha role or the alpha opportunities. And that's pretty sad, because I think he deserves them. I'm
gonna disagree with you. I think that Garrett Wilson I think his target share is going to be just fine. I think he's going to still be targeted. He's going to find the way into the end zone still. I don't see him being any less of what he is already because of Adams.
I'm going to disagree with you.
All right.
He had 23 targets, Anthony. Davante Adams is sleeping over feet to feet on the couch with Aaron Rodgers, bro. Like, there is a 0% chance.
That's until he's covered, especially in the red zone. And his stats in the red zone in Green Bay and Vegas are low.
I think, just for the sake of, because we're all degenerates here, let's look at after the pod. We don't have to do it now. It's a lot of work. Let's look at Garrett Wilson's average targets per game before the trade and after, and I will wager comfortably that it will go down.
I'll bite. All right.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay. Adrian, set it up. You're the bet guy. You're the bookie.
All right, I'm on it.
All right.
Wait,
Adrian,
okay,
break
hold
the
up.
tie. What do you think?
What
Break the tie.
percentage? What percentage is it going to go down? How much? What's the extreme?
I think whatever it is now, it's less. It's that
half?
simple for me. No, not half. Probably 15%
15.
dip.
Okay.
I'd say.
All right,
Age.
You heard it here.
Age. Break the tie. Who's right?
I can't because this is gonna be one of those answers like, well, you're both kind of right, and they're so freaking annoying. You know what? I'll break the tie and say you're right, Kevin, only because I think it will go down to at least 15%. But I don't think, for what it's worth, I don't think his yards will go down. I think with Adams drawing double coverage a lot of the
Probably
time,
get more quality targets.
Correct. Yeah. And he's also not, it's not one of those offenses where everyone knows the ball's going there. So
yeah. Helps the predictability standpoint for sure. I love a good spirited debate on the pod. It's nice to have some. It's nice to have some friction. Next, I think this is a topic that there will be no friction on. I believe it was literally maybe on the last podcast I mentioned the Bills' lack of a true separator, lack of a true bucket getter, and lo and behold, the game ends where nobody has more targets than their tight end, and nobody has more yards than their backup rookie running back in his first ever start. The Bills heed the calling of myself, Bills Mafia, and the NFL media world and trade for Amari Cooper. It's a 3rd round pick in exchange for it's a 3rd and a 7th in exchange for Cooper and a 6th. Kind of look at this as a pick swap. The 7th, it's next year's. It's kind of, you're punting that off a bridge. That's kind of like the Madden, like you're looking at the trade bar and it's like super green, but it's like there's like a little inch left. You're like, just throw the 7th in there, get it done. Boys, I could obviously wax poetic for hours about this deal, but I will let the non-homers start. Adrian, what are your thoughts on this move for Buffalo?
So I think this is a great move, and I texted you when this happened because I think Cooper is sneaky underrated. Like, I mean, people know he's good, but I think you've been receiving the ball from Deshaun Watson again in a kind of offense where you know the ball to an extent is going there, particularly when Chubb went down, and he still put up yards. And now I think you're getting it from Josh Allen. You've got other pieces there. I know that he's probably going to be the number one. He can line up in most spots. And on top of that, they're paying him what, 800 something thousand this year. Like Devontae Adams is, I can't remember how many millions Devontae Adams was, but they're paying him not much at all. This was a great pickup. This is like, I know you know this, but when people hear it coming from you, it feels homer. But when people get on like Brandon Bean, like, dude, he knows what he's doing. Like, this is a smart move for the Bills, and they needed it. And I think Josh Allen and him are going to gel very quickly. That's my expectation.
Yeah, and before I have the chance to get on my soapbox, and feel free, chime in. What are your thoughts on this?
So right now, Buffalo was dining at a 5-star restaurant. They had the best entrees. They had the steak. They had the loaded baked potato. They had the mac and cheese with the breadcrumbs, and they had the glass of wine. Amari Cooper is that added glass of wine.
Oh wow!
To palate the steak, to make everything come together. Amari Cooper is that glass of wine to put everything together.
I love it.
I also think that Amari Cooper has had an incredible upgrade, going from Deshaun Watson, it might be a literal trash can, to Josh Allen, who might be a literal god. So I think that upgrade.
That's not the Bills fan, ladies and gentlemen.
No. Josh Allen's great. He's really good at what he does, and I think that having a target like Amari Cooper can't replace Stephon Diggs. He had something with Stephon Diggs that can't be. I'll stop talking. I see tears coming out of Kevin's eyes. I think that Amari Cooper is not a replacement whatsoever. He's simply a rebound, and I think that it's going to put the offense together. It's going to put the glue to the Bills offense. I'm not going to say it's going to bring them to a Super Bowl already, but it's definitely going to help.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you guys are spot on. I don't think you can really oversell this move. I try to be realistic when it comes to my opinions and my takes and whatnot. I feel like this is kind of like a move that's hard not to get excited about. He's been one of the best receivers in the NFL. Not like a top 5, top 7 guy, but comfortably in the top 10 to 15 guys pretty much his whole career. We're looking at a guy who's had 1,100 receiving yards in 4 of his last 5 seasons. We're looking at I believe, a 5-time Pro Bowler. He had great years with Dallas. He had great years with Cleveland. He had great years with Oakland, I believe, and then it turned into Vegas while he was there. This is a guy who I'm just elated to have in the building. This is a guy who I think really, really just Anthony. I liked your wine analogy. As a sober guy, I'll say he's the dessert. He is the absolute. He's the New York cheesecake with strawberry puree, and there's an actual strawberry on top. I am thrilled with this acquisition. I think temper your expectations for the first month. Joe Brady's offense clearly has a lot of wrinkles. I think playing with a quarterback like Allen requires a lot of improvisational fortitude. You got to be able to know when it's time to break off a route. You got to know when it's time to work your way back to the quarterback, because lo and behold, he shook 2 tackles and he's sprinting full speed towards the sidelines looking to uncork one. Hopefully they can get on that. Hopefully they can get that ironed out by playoff time, which it does feel, knock on all the wood in the world, pretty good that Buffalo can scrap and claw their way to a playoff spot again this year with the lead that they have in the division and the adversity that the division mates are facing. That being said, I got no notes, nothing further to add. I think we're all consensus here. Let's do one last rapid fire here. I need Adrian. I need Anthony. I'll do mine at the end. We got to do letter grades for each and which one's more impactful. Starting with you, Adrian.
All right, Devontae Adams. I'll give it a B. Actually, yeah, because it's a conditional third, so it can become a second. So I'll give it a B because you don't know if Adams is going to have that connection. Josh Allen Amari Cooper to Josh Allen is an A, in my opinion, especially for what you're paying.
Okay, and
yeah, I'm gonna have to just completely agree with Adrian. B and A.
Yeah, I'm gonna add minuses to both. I'm gonna go B- and A-. Devontae, the Jets mortgaging more of their future for a quarterback who's coming off of an Achilles, who's 43, doesn't feel really that smart. I don't think he's actually 43. He might be a little younger than that. Or maybe he is. I don't remember. He's old as hell. And then Cooper, he's hasn't had the best start to the season. A lot of people are saying it has to do with his disdain and poor relationship with Deshaun Watson. I'm chalking it up to that, but obviously, he's also 30. It is a rental. He's not under a cheap long-term contract. So, I mean, they get a free look. We saw them do this with Rasul Douglas. Getting a free look at a guy who's towards the end of his deal is never bad, but it is a rental, right? So there has to be that little asterisk on it for me, which is just in the form of a minus. Ladies and gentlemen, we've covered the legit headlines. I believe without further ado, it's time for some game previews. As a what's the term, formality? We have to do a Thursday night recap. But what is there to recap? This was one of the most trash games I've seen. I think Giants Cowboys on Thursday night, or a couple like maybe a month or so back, like early in the season. Jimmy Ray, Amari Cooper 1,000-yard season, bet Kev's rent. Respect. Thank you for being here, Jimmy Ray, and also shout out to Takedo Luna for being here. He seems to be very confident that the Bills will win the division. And yeah, Josh has, for all intents and purposes, stopped those turnovers. It's pretty insane. 0 picks through 6 games. That's pretty crazy. Anyways, without further ado, yeah, Aid, anything from this game? This is a post Dynamite to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll say 2 things here. I will say Bo Nix, if you weren't watching the game, flashed good and bad. He could run the ball. That was great. He kind of made a few good decisions. But he also, there was one throw there was 2 open receivers and he threw it in the one spot they both couldn't get to it. It was a disgusting throw.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, but look, he's showing flashes. So if you're a Broncos fan, there's something to be excited about. Spencer Rattler, a little bit less. There was one play, and I'm sure you guys would have known this one where he ran in the same play, dropped the ball, picked it up, ran into his own player, tried to throw it, fumbled the ball. They picked it up for a pick 6 that got brought back. It was just a gross game. I actually bet the under in every quarter on this game. So I thought first, second, third, fourth quarter, all under. And when the first hit, I was like, I've got this 3-0. And then they just decided to turn it up.
Denver really turned it up. Yeah, they ran the ball. Javonte Williams looks healthy. And Aid both. Before we move on, is Javonte all the way back?
Yes, I believe so. He's on the injury report, but he is supposed to play.
No, like all the way back, as in good again. He had a nice little game last night.
No. That's what I'm saying. He's on the injury report, but he's playing really well.
So you think
he's
so?
Gonna be, yeah, I do.
Aid?
Look, he looked good. I'll be honest with you. And they ran 100 yards in the first half, 200 by the end of the game, and he was a big part of that. Bo Nix was also a big part of that. But I was never a big Javonte Williams guy, so I think he's kind of fulfilled the potential I originally saw, which was not a very high bar.
Yeah, I was a huge believer. I sold out to get all the shares of him across all the platforms, and then he kind of burned me, and I kind of cut my losses already. I've been off the train for a while. If I was just slightly more patient, I might be elated and like having a little party about last night. I wasn't. So I guess I'm hoping it's not a flash in the pan, because I love to see players succeed. I love to see players get healthy and get right and whatnot. But that being said, I don't know. It's hard to see him string this together for the rest of the season. It always feels like a matter of if, not when, if he's going to stop his dominance. So that being said, thank God we can punt this game off a bridge. For the legit football listeners who remember the GOAT, Brian McFadden, former host of this podcast, hopefully future host of this podcast, I traded him Spencer Rattler moments before the game for a second-round pick, and Ty Chandler, feeling really good about that in hindsight. He already texted me and said, maybe I was wrong. Pretty great stuff there. Without further ado, Ant, are you sticking around to chat games, or are you? I know you're not going to cover games, but are you going to provide commentary, or are you just dipping?
No, I'm going to leave it to you two. But
Sweet.
we're going to have a new format because I have some new graphics. So
let's go.
We're going to have 3 minutes each game.
Let's go.
10-second grace period. Once you see the logos change, you're on to that next game. Sound good?
Love it. Love that.
Do it.
And thanks, man. Good to have you on the show. You're taking off, or are you hanging?
I'll be here. I'll be.
Okay, he'll be here. He'll be here. Okay. We need a judge. We need a tiebreaker, Aiden, in case we get volatile. Oh, he's hanging in the chat. Okay, cool. We need a moderator.
All right. While we're bringing up the things, I have to acknowledge Catalina. Yeah, you know what? That was a ridiculous game. That talks about how good the Broncos defense is to win a game with Bo Nix throwing for 60 yards. And can we calm down Thursday Night Football on like your ridiculous graphics and stats talking about 5-letter quarterbacks?
So stupid. So stupid. You know what? I'm usually a huge fan of those graphics. The cheesy graphics in primetime games are one of my favorite. Like my little, NFL neurotic brain. I live for those. Like when they have the really, really crappy animation and they just show them like,
so good.
It'll be like references to movies or whatever. Like, oh God, I'm such a huge fan. Emily Brolin, shout out to Emily Brolin, my amigo. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about your favorite team in just a second, so stick around. Without further ado, Adrian, are we ready to kick things off?
I think so. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Patriots.
You're kicking it off.
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Shout out to Ant here. He emptied the clip on this one. We have the Patriots, who are, I believe, 1-5, traveling to London to take on the Jaguars, who are already there. This happened to Buffalo last year. It wasn't very fair. They had a little home field advantage. Taking on the 5.5-point favorites, Jacksonville Jaguars. And let's talk about this game. Last week, I thought Drake May looked excellent in his debut. I was watching the game with Emily, who is a huge Patriots fan, and I'm happy that she's here to hear us talk about her favorite team, because I've been saying for weeks that Jacoby Brissett needed to be put out to pasture. They finally gave him the old Yeller treatment, and Drake May is in there, and I don't think they're going to look back. The dime to Baute for his first NFL touchdown before halftime was something special. His connection with Pop Douglas, Pop, is very clear, very real. I am very excited to watch them continue to play. I actually begged Anthony over coffee this morning to trade me Pop Douglas in Legit Dynasty. Ramondre comes back for this game, and I think the Jaguars better watch out. I think the Patriots have a decent shot to win. As far as Jacksonville last week, we also have Jake Liam Roach, another alleged Patriots fan. I think deep down in his heart, he loves the Bills, but he's here saying he likes the Patriots. Jake, we all know who your favorite team is.
Put on a brave face, Jake. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. He's from London, so this game is across the pond, buddy. So you'll have a good time. Anyways, Takeda Luna says we should be canceled because there was gun sounds, and the NFL does not support gun sounds or signs. Pop, pop. Finger guns, those are allowed, in my opinion. Pop, pop. The Jags, just an absolute dumpster fire, getting their doors blown off by your favorite quarterback, Caleb Williams, last week at 6:30 Pacific. So therefore, I was at pickleball for that game, but I was listening to it on the phone, and it felt like every time I picked it up, I was like, because I'm a fantasy guy. You guys know I'm Bills, NFL, fantasy, all very close. Number one thing in my heart, other than my lady and my family. And
right here.
And art. I love creativity. Adrian, you're number one, hon. No, nobody else touches you. But every time I looked, Travis Etienne had 0.5 points, and then 0.1 points, and then negative 0.7 points. It was just a disaster. I got no love lost for the Jags. I think they're terrible, and I do genuinely believe the Patriots are going to win this game. I think Drake May continues his ascendance. Look for a rookie mistake or two, but I think he wins the game going away. We'll say Patriots in this one, 27-21.
I will just say Patriots to win this one against the league's worst ranked defense. So he should have plenty of space to get it through the air. I will say 23-20.
23-20. Look at that. The logo's changed right on cue. You're talking about the Seahawks, who are traveling to Atlanta to take on the 3-point home favorite Falcons. I didn't hear a gong, by the way. Is there a gong for 10-second warning in the future, or all good? Hey, take it away.
We'll get to the gong. So if we were discussing this game 3 weeks ago, what a tale of two. This is how different 3 weeks makes it. Because 3 weeks ago, the Seahawks were 3-0. The Falcons were 1-2. And now having lost 3 straight to the Hawks and 3 wins to the Falcons, it's a different game. And it really is. And I think if you look, it's such a weird thing, right? Because they brought in Mike McDonald. He got the job because his defense was like league shattering, and their defense is the problem. They've allowed the second most points per game. They've allowed the second most yards per game, most yards per play in the league. Opposing quarterbacks have 8-0 TD interception rating and 74% completion. It really is strange to see someone like McDonald come in and kind of put in a defense that is kind of ruining it for an offense that's not playing terrible.
Floundering.
Yeah. Which is weird. And their offense will be fine this game. AJ Terrell is the Falcons' best corner and really only cornerback threat, and they've got 3 guys who can win one-on-one. So I think the Seahawks will be okay, but I do feel like the Falcons are kind of hitting their stride. Kirk has found his confidence back. Even the ground game has gotten going, and it's kind of like what we wanted to see last year. So I like this to be a high-scoring game. I think the Falcons win this 34-27. The Seahawks will continue their skid. What I will say, if you're a Seahawks fan, look, any defensive scheme that is not super easy takes time to adopt, takes time to bring in. So give the defense some time to kind of find their footing. But it might not be good for you this year.
I love it, man. And I do think that there is shootout potential here, given that both defenses have had better days than we've seen this season. Geno is surprisingly good. NFL's leader in passing yards, a little under the radar stat. Bijan Robinson finally had his awakening last week. That's something that we are just elated about on this podcast. We're all huge fans of Bijan's game. Got to get some more consistency from Ken Walker and everybody on Seattle. Like, it kind of feels like they, apart from Geno, tossing the ball around the yard, it kind of feels like Seattle's offense. Yeah, they move through. You're right. They're playing well, but they move through quicksand at times. And last week it was finding the end zone. They got close, but there was no cigar, which was tough to watch because, like you said, from 3-0 to 3-3 with the skid that they've been on, it's brutal. And meanwhile, Atlanta, you know what? I think this game's going to be an ugly shootout, and I think I'm going to take Seattle edging in this one. I think it's going to be close. I think Kirk, with the quote of the week, said that when you're playing on the road, you go to their trap and you take their trap, which is kind of crazy. Kind of an incredible. Is this in Atlanta though? It says on our graphic. I saw that quote. I don't know what that was about. Maybe it is in Seattle because that quote. Did you hear that quote?
I didn't. It's no. It's a Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Oh, it's in Atlanta. I don't know why
Yeah.
he said that this week. Then I gotta look into that. But that being said, I gotta wrap it up. I gotta make my pick. The logos have changed. This is the grace period here. We're in the grace period. Seattle's gonna win. I'll say 30-24. Next up, we have my Buffalo Bills at home, 9.5, 8.5. Ooh, the line's moved a little bit. 8.5-point home favorites over the Tennessee Titans. Buffalo, celebrating their acquisition of their shiny new toy, Amari Cooper. It was announced today he's playing. I think he'll be getting packages. I don't expect him to be in any sort of like a 80% to 90% snap share just yet. I would really, really cross my fingers, hope that he gets Matt Collins' snaps. Even though I like Matt Collins a lot as a dude and I like him as a blocker, I don't want to see him get any more targets for the rest of the season. I'll be okay if he doesn't get any more targets, despite the fact that he caught a touchdown last week. I sound like a hater, but he hurts my eyeballs watching him try to play wide receiver. I try, man. I try. MVS Sayonara. Thank you very much. Another one, all due respect, was very, very not a fan of him or his game. Definitely warmed my heart a little bit to see him be the one who was cut. Over under 5.5 days before he's a Jet or a Chief.
Surely the Chiefs don't take him back.
Yeah.
I know he won. I know he technically kind of got them through a couple of playoff games, but
technically kind of got them a ring a little bit.
Yeah,
as
fair.
the wide receiver one. Anyways, I think this game comes down to Buffalo has a run funnel defense. They have a bend but don't break philosophy. It's always been the case with Sean McDermott's defenses. Sneakily getting healthy, still down Milano, but Oliver's back this week, which is huge for them. Teron Johnson was back last week, and he made the play of the game, intercepting Rodgers on the final drive. His presence makes a difference. Terrell Bernard making splash plays, blowing up runs in the backfield. I still think this is going to be a game where Tony Pollard gets loose, but I think Sean McDermott's defenses have always done a wonderful job bullying young QBs, especially young QBs with the pedigree of Will Levis. I think it's going to be a long day at the office for him. I actually told Anthony this morning over coffee that I would be surprised if Will Levis finished the game. I think this has the makings of one of those fun Buffalo blowouts where by halftime I can meditate and maybe just focus on red zone and my bets and not have to sweat the game too much. So I'll pick Buffalo in this one in a blowout. I'll say Buffalo takes care of business 33 to, I will say 16.
Yeah, I mean, you're going against Will Levis is throwing the most picks, most takeaways this season. I think the Bills are going to eat. And I agree. I think this is one of those ones. I've got 30-20, but I think this will be one of those games where you could turn it off at 3/4 time.
Hope so. Take it away, sir. The Texans 5-1, traveling to Green Bay to take on the 4-2? 4-2.
Correct.
4-2 Packers, who are 3-point home favorites.
Can I make a public complaint to the NFL? Why is this game buried in the early slot? This is not an early slot game. Why are the Jets in? Anyway, I mean, look, I understand the Jets are kind of prime time, material for the past 2 seasons
with storylines and crap.
Yeah, I get that part. But anyway, look, I'll take a couple shots at the NFL. This guy should at least be in the later window. Now I've got to get up at 4 a.m. to watch this game.
Oh,
whatever.
Crap.
I know. Play the violin. So, look, you got 2 teams that are playing fantastic here, right? You got 2 young quarterbacks. This kind of feels like 2 guys that should be part of the future. Now, Love had a lot of freedom against the Cardinals. He's not going to have that this week. Texans generate pressure at league high, 43.1%. And Love's stats have not been great against the rush. So he's going to have to kind of rely on quick game. He's going to have to rely on Josh Jacobs. Watson seems back from the injury. Dubs put up his game to sort of
fall out.
He responded to the whole suspension and all of that. So, look, I'm feeling great about the Packers at the moment. And what is good is if they have to go via the run, they're running the most they've rushed through the first 6 games in 61 years, I believe it is. So to Kate Luna, I'm going to disagree with your expectation there because I think that the Texans, without Nico Collins and CJ Stroud, has still been playing great, but he has thrown 4 picks and 5 giveaways this season. If he's not protecting the ball, you've got a ball hawking defense in the Packers defense. I think that are going to get a pick or 2. Stephon Diggs and Jair Alexander from his days in the Vikings have a bit of beef, and Alexander has historically won that matchup. So I think this is going to be the match of the week. And I know that sounds like a homer thing, but I just think it's going to be a really exciting and interesting match. And I think it's a proper litmus test for the Packers to prove if you're a contender, because the Texans are a good team even without Nico Collins. So I like the Packers to get a couple picks in this game and win this 27-24.
I think for whatever it's
nail
worth.
biter.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be a close one. I think for whatever it's worth, I do want to just remind you that Diggs did get the best of Alexander in Buffalo. Diggs kind of had an eruption game against Alexander with the Bills. I don't know if you recall. I believe it was Sunday or Monday Night Football. Y'all got punched in the mouth. And is playing my wrap up music here. So I'll say I love having a dude to do that, man, because we don't do that for ourselves. That's why our podcast is an hour and a half every week. I'll agree with you. I think the Texans a little bit paper tigers with their 5-1 record. I think they'll lose that one. I think Green Bay will show up and show out and go to 5-2 on the year. I'll take Green Bay. I'll say 29-26. I'll throw OT in for bonus points. Next up, we got Bengals at Browns. We have my favorite team, the Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr, Joe Cool, Joe Diva, whatever you want to call him, the best QB with a 2-4 record of all time, traveling to Cleveland to take on the dumpster fire Browns, who just really could not seem more packed in. Personally, I think Stefanski I think it's time to pull the plug. I know people think he's a great coach, and it's been my most cancelable football take. I kind of think this is the fraud bowl. I think Zach Taylor's not that great either. I think they're both kind of overrated. But that being said, Deshaun Watson looks like one of the worst quarterbacks that's ever donned a Browns uniform, and that's saying something, given their history of atrocious quarterback play. I'm really dogpiling right now. Pun intended. I apologize, Cleveland and Cleveland fans. I do think that so the Bengals here, we have them finally getting right in a game against Daniel Jones, where it was really quite dicey for a majority of the game. They put them away with a long Chase Brown rushing touchdown late. Like I said, I think the Bengals, they're searching for answers, and I think they might have just stumbled upon the Giants and Browns of their schedule at the perfect time, because if they can get the ship pointed in the right direction, they can get their compass pointing north, they do have a chance. And I think this is the matchup for them to do that. Cleveland just they lost their best weapon in Amari Cooper. And Nick Chubb's coming back. That's a big one. Looking forward to seeing that, just because I'm a huge fan of the man. Hope he goes off. Hope he has a nice little day. Too early to plug him in fantasy lineups. I think I usually like to take a wait and see approach with returns from injuries of that size. I'm going to take Cincinnati in this one, 30-26. No, 30-21. Sorry.
We've been wrapped up, so I'll say Bengals 23-13 and agree with everything you said.
Thanks, man.
All right, Lions and Vikings.
Can we bring Anthony in? Can we get a guest? Can we get a guest spot here?
I feel like you should.
Come on, Ant.
While he's getting himself prepped, I will just say we've got to talk Aiden Hutchinson here. He was leading sacks, QB hits, and pressures, and that injury was a gut punch. And I'm sorry to bring you in on that, Ant, but please tell us your thoughts.
Wow, Adrian, you look like the Viking.
You're the Viking right now. This is why I kept it to two people.
I have a pet.
Nice. Okay, so the Aiden Hutchinson thing was heartbreaking. It hurt. I'm really sad for him, for his supporters, for the whole team as a whole. I just hope that he heals right, comes out stronger than before. And, he's a lion, might be quite literally a lion. And I think that he's gonna be okay. But from a football standpoint, getting a new edge rusher, good thought exercise. How important is that to you, real quick?
I mean, he was the heartbeat of the defense, so I would say important. They don't want to mortgage the future, but if I'm the Lions, go after Max Crosby, mortgage it a little bit.
Yeah,
that's
agree.
what Anthony said over coffee. I'll say this ring. Personally, there's a guy in Buffalo, former Super Bowl MVP, coming off a suspension, and we'd love to chat. Maybe if you want him for like a second or a third, maybe, I don't know. But let's talk about the game. And what are your keys and who wins it?
So Sonic and Knuckles. That's the running back duo of the century. That's their nicknames, Sonic and Knuckles.
I love it.
Adrian, I don't know if you know who Sonic is.
They're big.
Just kidding.
Over here in Europe, no.
Sonic's a big deal in Europe.
So the offense is operating at another level. Again, they were a little off against Tampa Bay, but I think that they've really figured it out. the pummeling of the Cowboys really put a statement that Detroit
Pummeling.
Lions are for real. And I think they're gonna prove that again in this game, which I think it's the most anticipated game of the week, but that might be a little bias because we do have a Super Bowl rematch here. So I think that this is gonna be a really good game. It's gonna be a shootout. Sam Darnold is looking really good, but he's been a little bit off. I don't know if it's because his offensive line's beat up. I don't know. But if he can really get it done, I'm afraid that he's going to torch our secondary. But if we can put enough points up to torch them back, then I think we come out with the victory. It's going to be really close, maybe even overtime. But I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be 38-34. That's my prediction. Lions.
Slobber knocker incoming, according to Ant. I couldn't agree more. I'll take the Lions in this one as well. I'll say 31 to I'll say 23.
I'll say the Lions give the Vikings their first loss, 24-21. And I think even without Aiden Hutchinson, that line gets him uncomfortable.
And that's got to be stressful when your favorite team is picked by everybody in a game that they're facing an undefeated team. It's got to be a little stressful. Anyways, without further ado, who did we just take a game from? Was that my game?
No, it's my game, so this is yours.
You take this one. It's all good. I'm good. I can give it up.
But it's enough prep for my other game. Come on. Take
All right,
it.
I got it.
You know I like the prep.
Yeah, I love it. I'm sorry about that. I went rogue.
Don't be.
I gotta talk. This one's essentially a dynamite game, in my opinion. If Jimmy Ray were here, he might have something to say about that. But Indy's been a shell of who we thought they were going to be this year. Anthony Richardson has looked lost at times. I really hope to God that's not the case in this game. I'd love to see him put it together. Miami, Tua's out, which is heartbreaking for their fans because we all know the concussion history and whatnot. Looked like this might be the first week he'd have a chance to come back because it was the game after the bye. But I'm hearing that his return is in the not so distant future, which is huge for them. Snoop Huntley does not really give them much of a chance to win. He does not really utilize the weapons the way we all want him to. So there's definitely some fear and some insecurity there. But that being said, I think if there was a team that Miami could hang in with without Tua, it's this kind of a team. Jonathan Taylor's been ruled out. Heartbreaking. Trey Sermon's a shell of himself. I mean, he was never really. I mean, what's the shell of a shell? Because that's what Trey Sermon is.
Shell squared.
He's shell squared. I love it. Not really anything too impressive. So Michael Pittman's playing. That could be big time. That he could maybe be a needle mover for them. I think I'll take, just to be quick, I think I'll take Indy in this one. I think I'll take him in a not so close game, but one that, or a not so watchable game, but maybe one that does get close at the end, maybe some garbage time. I'll say 20-17 Indy.
Yeah, Pittman's a weird one because he was like an IR candidate and then played and then IR candidate and now he's playing. It's such
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
And yeah, and as you said, AR making his return, which is it makes it a little bit more interesting, even though with Joe Flacco, they were probably playing better. If it is a gross game, this is a dynamite game, but I will say Indy take it 24-18. And that's all I'm going to say.
So there you go, Jimmy. Hopefully you're still around and you heard that. We both picked your team. Congrats. Take it away, Aid.
I think we're consensus on all the legit host and producer team picks at the moment, as in all of our teams have been picked.
All four. Wow.
All right. The return of Saquon Barkley to the Giants, as the Giants would call him, Snakeone Barkley. And this is a weird game, and it's kind of sneaky interesting because the Eagles have been playing below what we expected them, and the Giants have kind of picked it up a little bit recently. Malik Neighbors, as we mentioned, is back, so that's a great one. I'm just going to throw a little bit of just random shade at Nick Sirianni for like sniping fans after beating the Browns. Just like he's just such an unlikable coach.
He's become a huge lame-o.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to him being inevitably gone at the end of this season, and I think that's not even up for debate at this point. So the Eagles have scored 25 more yards per game than their opponents. They basically played at their level of opposition. So they did the same against the Browns, and that's saying something. I would think Saquon would have a big game here. He's got a chip. He wanted to stay with New York. He said as much, and they kind of sent him out the door. So I think Saquon will have a big game here. I think they're going to involve him a lot in that offensive game plan so that he has the chance to do that. New York kind of remain competitive against some good teams. They remain competitive against the Commanders. I'm not calling the Cowboys a good team. but they did stay competitive against them, and they beat the Seahawks. So you can see Daniel Jones is kind of finding his groove a little bit. Maybe the beard started to get rid of some of that rust off. Malik Neighbors being back is huge for them and huge for my fantasy team, as I mentioned. So I think the Giants win this. I think it's going to be a gross game, and I think it's 22-19. And I think the Eagles just free fall. You know what? Like, if I can just call it right now, and I know everyone is probably in the same boat, the Eagles to me are just like the ultimate paper tiger. Any win they have, it's going to be against teams like the Browns.
Yep, and I really love your analysis, and I actually couldn't agree with you more about Philly. It's so unfortunate that they happen to be playing just a team that every time, bro, my body is covered in scars from this Giants team. Trying to embrace them, trying to be the one to be like, it's okay, guys. We can come out now. We're safe. And then they burn me. They hurt me again. And last week, I stupidly, foolishly picked them to beat the Bengals. I actually ended up tying in a work pool that I would have made a lot of money had I picked. That was the only game I missed in my pool. And I picked the Monday Night Football points almost exactly. I put 44. It ended up being 43. I have to split the money, but damn, Giants, why do you do that to me? I gotta talk. I gotta rap because the logos change. I will take the Eagles in this, even though I also think they're frauds, and I think the Giants are better than people think. I can't keep getting burned by them. They've hurt me one too many times. Philly, 27-19. The Raiders traveling to LA to take on 5.5-point home favorite Rams. The Rams, kind of one of the more disappointing teams in the NFL this year, largely, in my opinion, related to injury. I do believe Cooper Kupp is due back in this game, which is excellent. Matt Stafford,
he's definitely potential. I don't know if he was a lock though.
I've seen my fantasy team has him in, so if he's not a lock, I better freaking find out about it. He's been practicing every day. I heard he was designated to return. I don't know if that's 100% certain. We'll keep our eyes on that. Everybody, don't take my word for it, but let's say Kupp plays. I have a feeling. Kyron's been excellent this year. Kind of just picked up where he left off last year, which we all thought he would. Would love to see your boy Corum get some looks. I feel like the 1-2 punch combo could be really, the potential there is really high. Meanwhile, the Raiders, you have Antonio Pierce, who's kind of doing the post Adams trade press tour, trying to make Raiders fans feel better about it. Look, I said it, I think last week, and I'll continue to say it. The Raiders really threw their season away when they didn't move up a little bit in the draft to grab a rookie QB, because not only are you not cashing in on having a horrible record with a rookie gaining some valuable experience, but you also treaded water just enough with Minshew that you might end up in a slightly worse draft pick. I think AOC is the better pick for the rest of the season because you got to find out who he is. Minshew, we know, is just a good backup. I think you got to find out if AOC is a guy or not. I don't think he is. And I think other than Jacoby Myers, who's doubtful to play, they don't really have any guys. I think this is a dogpiling. I think the Rams win this one. Finally in a blowout, I'll say 38-13.
I've put Rams 28-24. And I will move on. Yeah, closer.
Yeah, Raiders covering.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. All right, I'll move on because I won't even put some analysis on that. I'll move on to this next.
Take it away, man. Talk about my darling team. Talk about my team.
Here we are. So, all right. So this is the second year running where the second overall pick / the Kevin overall pick, pre-planned joke.
Very good
team. Yeah, is playing here. They're having a historic season. Like, so the second time in 2 years, the second overall pick is having a historic season. He's ranked top 5. Jaden Daniels in completion, pass yards per attempt, passer rating, offensive yards per game, rush yards per game, and giveaways with just 2 in 6 games. If you remember before the draft, there was all this talk about, he's dual threat, but he's not refined. That it's kind of like, you know what? Sometimes you get those reminders that really even us who follow the game closely and watch the tape and try, and even like the best of the best analysts, we're all just kind of guessing in the dark here, right? We're all just kind of feeling our way around and hoping for the best.
Except for me.
And yeah, I absolutely, and myself also. I think the real trick here is to really laud when you get it right, you really just push that through, and when you get it wrong, you never mention it again.
Absolutely. Like, you never said anything good about Carolina this offseason, right?
Correct. Yeah, but I did talk about McLaurin and plant my flag in him, and he's playing great. He's having fun. I can see the future.
I love it.
So look, I'm waffling here. So what I will say is the banged up defense of the Panthers, who just can't get it right, and I'm saying the same thing about them every week because it's just kind of same old song and dance with them. They've allowed 33.8 points and nearly 400 yards per game. They've got 6 sacks on the year. They are not going to make the Commanders or Jaden Daniels uncomfortable. Chuba Hubbard's been a bright spark. Jonathan Brooks, we're getting close to seeing him again, so maybe their run game can get going soon enough. But this feels like the Commanders had a really rough game and took a loss that kind of sticks to you against the Ravens, even though the score was closer than probably what the game was. I feel like that one will hold true to Jaden Daniels, and I think he's going to come and get right here with a really easy win. I'm going to say 30-13.
Yeah, and I'm bummed this isn't a primetime game because, man, the more I get to watch my boy Jaden play, the happier I get with that pick. I won't wax poetic. We have another blowout here, 37-10. Andy Dalton
Easy
experiment
cover.
is over. Get Bryce Young back in there. Let the kid learn. Maybe see if he's got any trade value.
Kev's rent.
All right, and now my favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. That was sarcasm. I'm sure you all knew that. Traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, who are underproducing for what we all expected them to be, especially from a record perspective. I'm not sure if I've ever seen, Adrian, I know the children, the Gen Z kids love to say aura this year. That's kind of like the new, like the aura, like, oh, they have a good aura. Like that's kind of a
Translate for me.
For like charisma now, people are saying aura, right? I don't know if I've ever
The
seen
kids say it, so I can say it too.
And there we go. And I don't know if we've ever seen an aura-less Super Bowl rematch. We have the 5-0 vomit when you watch them, but they're 5-0 Chiefs taking on the, talk about shell of yourself with no McCaffrey, the shell of yourself 49ers, who have been banged up all year and have lost some atrocious games to the Rams and the Cardinals. 49ers are 1.5 point favorites. I do think that is the correct line, and I do think it will be that kind of a game. Again, if there's a game that is a Super Bowl rematch that is less fun to watch, point me in that direction because I don't believe it. I think this is going to be a stink fest, and I think it'll be one that hopefully includes some fireworks from the 49ers side of things and hopefully none from the Chiefs side of things. Mahomes is the lead, as the clubhouse leader and in the MVP discussion for absolutely why I don't know. 49ers take it 24-20.
I had a very similar score, and I'm going to say 49ers as well, 27-24. But I've been predicting the Chiefs' downfall every week, and I mean, I'm always wrong. So
yeah, me too. We look like clowns. We put on our
it's
clown
time to
makeup
predict Chiefs win so they lose. Yeah,
I think maybe. Yeah, take it away.
All right,
boy.
Jets and Steelers. So there's two real storylines to follow. Actually, this is. I know it's prime time, and I complained about that, but this is kind of like the storyline bowl. Like you got Rodgers reunited with Devontae Adams. And I understand they haven't got that long to get acclimated, but they don't really need time to build chemistry, right? And then you got Russell Wilson returning as QB1. Now, which of those two stories do you have faith in? Personally, I would say that the Jets have a better line going here. I said Adams and Rodgers duo historically has completed and done really well, whereas Russell Wilson has historically, going way back, been a fantastic QB, but not for some time now. So I think, look, Rodgers has kind of shown a few true colors, and I said I wanted to touch on this earlier about the Mike Williams sort of situation. I don't know if you saw that interview where he sort of talked about how Williams was meant to be running down on the outside. He peaked. He was on the inside.
Oh my God, ridiculous!
It's one of those like, and you know what? Like I watched a few breakdowns of it, and he's probably right. But it's like, dude, you're a leader. Don't throw him under the bus publicly.
He's not though. That's the thing about him. He's not.
Exactly. So I think that really sucks to see, and it makes me. As much as I'm always going to love Rodgers for what he did for the Packers, it makes me root against him because I don't like that kind of player. And now Williams is probably at the door. You know, he's going to go join Robert Saleh. Like so, but with all of that said and done, I do think the Jets are going to kind of have a little bit of a bump from Devontae Adams. He's probably going to be on a snap count. Holy crap, the Legos have already changed, and that's probably because I've got to step away. I've got to hide out shortly.
Yeah, we can power through.
Yeah, I will say that I hate the change to Wilson, but Tomlin, I trust him enough that he must have seen some things in practice to know that he's the better option. But I think the Jets, who cannot go to 2-5, will need. Can't go to 2-5. They would need this win, and they'll get it 21-16.
I hate the change so much that that's the reason I'm picking the Jets to win this game. They put up a hell of a fight against Buffalo. They're a pesky team. They really are. Breece Hall unlocked. Let's go. Wrap it up. Jets 20-17. 21-18. We'll for fun. Ravens at Bucks. Let's just rapid fire these. Your boy Baker Mayfield has looked incredible this year. QB2 in fantasy. Versus I believe the QB1 in fantasy, Lamar Jackson. What a matchup. I'm very, very excited for them to go toe to toe. I think I'll take the Ravens in this one because I think their defense is better than the Bucks defense. I think Lamar will get some stuff going. I'll say 30-23.
Last time Derrick Henry played Todd Bowles, 11 carries, 24 yards, no TDs.
Hello.
Sixth lowest single game output. So let's see if he goes off here, but I feel like we'll probably be fine. I think the Ravens are the team to beat. So I'm going to say 30-24. As much as I'd love to pick my boy Baker.
Absolutely. Last but not least, we have one final game, and that is the Cardinals at. I think the Cardinals are playing. There's 2 Monday night games this week.
Oh, there is 2 Chargers Cardinals.
Chargers Cardinals, and we'll rapid fire because we don't even have logos. Cardinals suck. I think the Chargers. Sorry, I know they're your darling team, but you picked wrong, buddy. I think the Chargers will take care of business 23-17.
Yeah, I still think Kyler Murray can have one of his games at any given time, and I said that last week. So I actually think the Cardinals come back out. They're inconsistent, right? They can beat the 49ers, then look terrible to the Packers, and I think they can beat the Chargers here in a game that, obviously it's going to be through the ground for Jim Harbaugh's Chargers. Jim Harbaugh is the correct Harbaugh.
Yep.
I think the Cardinals win this one 23-20.
Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We made it through every game. We made it through the legit headlines. Adrian Revito, anything you want to say to the good people before we wrap up this sucker?
I will just say, look, this is my fault, guys, because I know we've had the rapid fire at the end here. Emily, you will have to fight me for Baker.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This is a very valid duo.
Yeah. So what I will say is I apologize. It's my fault. I've got a hard out, so we've had to sort of speed through the end of this year, but we will get this right. We build this plane as we fly it, and we love you, and we appreciate you being
We're
here.
killing it. Headlines, trade analysis, predictions, analysis.
Ain't nothing.
I couldn't be prouder. That's the effect of having another producer, another one. Not that we didn't have one, just another one. I couldn't love these boys more. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Anthony. Thank you to Adrian. Thank you to Emily and to Cato for keeping the chat alive. We missed you, Jimmy Ray, NFL Stats. Can't wait to have you back. Thank you to the 531 people watching us live on across the platforms, Twitter, YouTube. Adrian, hard out. It's 31. I'm so sorry. Please apologize to your wife for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Legit Football NFL Podcast. I'm Kevin Phillip Fox. That's Adrian Vito.